She was kicked out by her stepmother on her 18th birthday, and all she inherited was a sunken boathouse, a place everyone called worthless, broken, rotting, forgotten, but what she found inside was never meant to be found, because hidden beneath that collapsing structure was a secret her father died protecting. And if she had walked away that night, she would have lost everything he left behind, a truth no one wanted her to discover. And the moment she opened it, her entire life changed forever. The night Olivia turned 18, the sound of thunder echoed across the dark lake as her entire life fell apart in a single moment. She stood barefoot on the porch, her thin jacket soaked by the cold rain, clutching a worn duffel bag that held everything she had left. Behind her, the door slammed shut with a final, heartless click. Her stepmother, Margaret, didn't even hesitate. Arms crossed, eyes cold, she handed Olivia a thin envelope like it meant nothing. "You're an adult now," she said flatly. "Everything your father left you is in there." Inside wasn't hope, it was abandonment. A deed to a sunken boathouse. Olivia's breath caught in her throat. A broken structure by a forgotten lake miles away, rotting, sinking, useless. Margaret had already made that clear with a faint, mocking smile. No saving, no support. Just $200 in a place no one wanted. Olivia looked down at the rusted key resting in her palm. It felt heavier than it should, like it carried something unseen, something waiting. With nowhere else to go, she stepped off the porch and into the storm, unaware that the place meant to erase her would soon become the reason she survived. The bus ride to the lake felt longer than it should have, as if the world itself was stretching the distance between who Olivia used to be and who she was about to become. She sat by the window, her forehead pressed against the cold glass, watching the city dissolve into empty highways, then into scattered houses, and finally into nothing but endless trees and gray sky. Every mile carried her farther away from everything familiar and deeper into uncertainty. Margaret's voice echoed in her mind like a curse. "It's worthless." A sunken boathouse. Olivia tightened her grip around the envelope resting on her lap. Inside was her entire future, and it felt terrifyingly light. $200 wouldn't last a week, and that place, it probably wasn't even livable. What am I supposed to do? The question repeated over and over, louder with every passing mile. 4 hours later, the bus finally stopped. "This is the last stop," the driver muttered without looking at her. Olivia stepped off into a silence so deep it felt unnatural. The air was colder here, sharper, carrying the scent of wet wood and still water. There were no crowds, no traffic, no noise, just a cracked road, a flickering streetlight, and a narrow path leading toward the lake. She was completely alone. Her phone barely had signal, but the map loaded just enough to guide her. 2 miles. The walk felt endless. Gravel crunched beneath her shoes as the road slowly disappeared into a dirt trail. Trees closed in around her, tall and skeletal, their branches whispering in the wind. The deeper she went, the quieter the world became until even her own breathing sounded too loud. And then she saw it. At the edge of a dark, unmoving lake sat what remained of the boathouse. It was worse than she imagined. Half of the structure leaned awkwardly into the water, its wooden frame warped and rotting. The dock had collapsed in places, sinking beneath the surface like it had simply given up. The windows were broken, the paint peeled away, and the entire place looked like it had been forgotten for decades. Olivia stopped walking. Her chest tightened. This is it. This was what her father had left her. This was the future Margaret had so casually thrown in her face. A hollow laugh escaped her lips, but it quickly turned into something else, something heavier. Tears burned in her eyes. For a moment, she wanted to turn around, to walk back to the road, to hitch a ride, to go anywhere but here. But there was nowhere else. Slowly, she stepped forward. The wooden planks beneath her feet creaked in protest as she climbed onto the remains of the dock. Each step felt uncertain, like the structure could collapse at any second. The lake beside her was dark, almost black, reflecting nothing but the dull gray sky above. It felt wrong, too still, too quiet. As she reached the entrance, the door hung slightly open, swaying gently with the wind. Olivia hesitated. Then she pushed it. The door groaned loudly, echoing across the water as it swung inward. Inside, the air was cold and damp, thick with the smell of rot and time. Dust floated in the faint light that filtered through broken windows. Pieces of wood and debris littered the floor, and the entire place felt like it had been abandoned in a hurry, then forgotten. But something didn't feel right. This wasn't just decay. It felt preserved. Olivia stepped carefully inside, her heart pounding. She pulled out her phone, turning on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing old furniture, rusted tools, and a workbench that looked surprisingly organized compared to the rest of the chaos. Her father's voice echoed faintly in her memory. "Everything has a place. Live." She froze. The workbench. It wasn't covered in dust like everything else. Her breath caught. Slowly, she walked closer. Her fingers trembled as she reached out, brushing across the surface. It was cold but clean, recently disturbed. "How?" she whispered. No one had been here in years, right? A chill ran down her spine. Her eyes moved across the room, searching, questioning everything now. And that's when she noticed it. The floor, near the back corner, just beside the wall where the wood met the water line, there was a subtle difference. The boards looked slightly uneven, darker than the rest. Olivia stepped closer. Her heart began to race. She pressed her foot down gently. Thump. The sound was different, hollow. She froze. Again. Thump. Not solid, not like the rest of the floor. Her pulse thundered in her ears now. Slowly. She knelt down, running her hand across the wood. It felt colder here, almost like something beneath it was pulling the warmth away. What is this? Her fingers brushed against a small metal ring, nearly invisible against the dark surface. Her breath hitched. A handle. For a moment, she just stared at it, fear and curiosity battling inside her chest. This wasn't just an abandoned boathouse. Something had been hidden here. Something intentional. Something her father never wanted anyone else to find. Olivia swallowed hard, her hands trembling as she wrapped her fingers around the ring. Every instinct told her to stop, to walk away, but something stronger pulled her forward. Something deeper. Truth. With a shaky breath, she pulled. The wood groaned as the hidden panel slowly lifted, revealing a dark opening beneath the floor. Cold air rushed up to meet her face. Olivia leaned forward, shining her light into the darkness below. And in that moment, everything she thought she knew about her father, about her past, about herself, was about to change forever. Olivia's breath caught in her throat as the beam of her phone's flashlight trembled in her hand, slicing through the darkness beneath the floor. At first, she saw nothing. Just shadows. A hollow space lined with damp wood and old stone. The kind of place that felt untouched for years, maybe decades. Cold air rose from it, brushing against her skin like something alive, something watching. Her instincts screamed at her to stop, to close the hatch, to walk away. But she didn't. She couldn't. Something deeper pulled her forward, slowly, carefully. Olivia lowered herself down into the hidden compartment, her shoes landing softly on the uneven ground below. The space was small, barely tall enough for her to stand upright, but it was dry, protected, hidden on purpose. This wasn't an accident. Someone built this. Her heart pounded harder as she turned in a slow circle, sweeping the light across the walls. And then, she saw it. A metal box. Heavy, solid, resting in the corner like it had been waiting for her. Olivia stepped closer, her pulse echoing in her ears. The box was old, but not rusted through. It had been cared for, preserved, protected from the water and decay above. Her hands trembled as she reached down and touched it. Cold. Real. This was it. Whatever her father had left behind, it was inside. She dragged the box toward her, its weight scraping against the ground with a low, grating sound. It was heavier than she expected, forcing her to use both hands to lift it. "Come on," she whispered under her breath. With effort, she hauled it up to the edge of the opening and climbed out after it, her muscles burning from the strain. Back inside the broken boathouse, the silence felt even heavier now, like the world was holding its breath. Olivia sat on the damp wooden floor, staring at the box. There was no lock, just a simple latch. Her fingers hovered over it for a moment. This was the point of no return. Everything could change, or nothing could. She swallowed hard and flipped the latch open. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the quiet space. Slowly, she lifted the lid. Inside, not gold, not treasure, something far more powerful. A thick envelope, and beneath it, neatly stacked bundles of cash. Olivia froze. Her mind struggled to process what she was seeing. Money, real money. More than she had ever held in her life. Her hand shook as she reached in, pulling one stack free, crisp bills, hundreds, thousands. Her chest tightened. "Dad!" The word came out as a broken whisper. This didn't make sense. Margaret said he left nothing, that he failed, that he lost everything. So where did this come from? Her eyes snapped back to the envelope. Her name was written on it. Olivia. In her father's handwriting. Her breath hitched. This was it. Her hands trembled as she tore it open, pulling out several pages folded neatly inside. The paper was worn but intact, protected just like everything else down there. She unfolded it slowly and began to read. "My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, then you found it." Her vision blurred instantly. It was his voice. Clear, familiar, alive on the page. "I wish I could be there with you right now, but if you've made it this far, then I know something important you didn't give up, and that means you're stronger than anyone ever gave you credit for." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she didn't stop reading. "I know what Margaret has told you about me. I know the story she's been repeating for years, that I was careless, that I failed, that I left you with nothing." Olivia clenched her jaw, because part of her had believed it. But that isn't the truth. Her heart skipped. "Years ago, I made a mistake. I trusted the wrong people. I lost everything we built, and yes, for a time, I was broken." Her fingers tightened around the letter. "But I didn't stay that way." Her breath caught. "I rebuilt. Quietly, carefully. I learned from every failure, every betrayal. And I found a way to create something no one could take from me." Olivia's pulse quickened. This boathouse, it wasn't abandoned. It was my refuge. My workshop, my second chance. Her eyes widened. Everything Margaret saw as worthless was actually the place where I built your future. A tear dropped onto the page. The money you found is only the beginning. There are accounts, investments, things I put in place to make sure you would never be left with nothing. I had to hide it. I had to protect it from people who would take it the moment they knew it existed. Margaret, the realization hit like a shockwave. I couldn't let that happen to you. Olivia covered her mouth, trying to hold back a sob. You deserved more than survival. You deserved freedom. Her chest tightened painfully. But there's something else you need to know. Her eyes scanned faster now. This place, this land, it matters more than you think. There are people who want it. Powerful people. They will come. They will offer you money more than you've ever imagined. Her breath stopped. They'll try to convince you it's the smart choice, the safe choice. Silence filled the room. But remember this, Olivia. Her heart pounded violently now. Some things are worth more than money. Tears streamed down her face as she reached the final lines. This place saved me when I had nothing left. Now, it's your turn. I believe in you. Always. Dad. Olivia lowered the letter slowly, her entire body shaking. The world around her felt different now. Louder. Clearer. Everything she thought she knew was wrong. Her father wasn't weak. He wasn't a failure. He had been fighting silently, relentlessly, just to give her a future. And Margaret had lied. About everything. A wave of emotion crashed over her grief. Anger, shock, but beneath it all, something new began to rise. Strength. Purpose. For the first time since she was thrown out, Olivia didn't feel lost. She felt chosen. This wasn't just an abandoned boathouse. This was a secret, a legacy, a second chance built just for her. She looked around the broken structure again, but now she didn't see ruin. She saw potential. She saw truth hidden beneath the surface. And as the wind howled softly across the lake, Olivia tightened her grip on the letter, her eyes hardening with quiet determination. Whatever came next, she wouldn't run anymore. Olivia sat there for a long time, the letter trembling in her hands as the weight of the truth slowly settled into her bones. The silence inside the broken boathouse no longer felt empty. It felt alive. Every creak of the wood, every whisper of the wind across the lake, it all carried a meaning she hadn't noticed before. Because everything had changed. Not the place, not the past, but the way she saw it. For years, Margaret's voice had shaped her reality. Quiet, persistent, and poisonous. Your father failed. He left nothing. You're on your own because of his mistakes. Olivia had believed it. Maybe not all at once, but slowly, piece by piece, until the memory of her father, the man who used to laugh with her, who taught her how to skip stones across the lake, who called her his strongest girl, had been replaced by a shadow, a disappointment, a burden. Her chest tightened painfully as that realization hit her. I believed her, she whispered, her voice breaking in the quiet space. The guilt came fast and sharp. How many times had she questioned him in her mind? How many times had she silently blamed him for the life she ended up with? Tears spilled down her face again, but this time, they were different. Not just grief, regret. I'm so sorry, Dad. Her voice echoed softly through the empty boathouse. Fragile, but real. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to remember him not as Margaret had painted him, but as he truly was. Strong, quiet, resilient. A man who had lost everything and still found a way to rebuild, not for himself, but for her. Her fingers tightened around the letter. He didn't give up, even when the world thought he did, even when she thought he did. And suddenly, Olivia saw it clearly. This place wasn't a burden. It was proof. Proof that he never stopped fighting. Proof that everything she had been told was a lie. She slowly stood up, her legs unsteady at first. Her eyes moved across the boathouse again, but this time, she wasn't seeing broken wood and decay. She was seeing intention. The hidden compartment. The preserved box. The clean workbench. None of it was random. None of it was forgotten. It was planned. Carefully, deliberately. For her. A strange warmth spread through her chest, pushing back the cold that had followed her for so long. I wasn't abandoned, she murmured. The words felt unfamiliar but powerful. I was protected. That truth hit deeper than anything else. Margaret hadn't just kicked her out. She had tried to convince Olivia that she was unwanted, that she had nothing, that she was alone. But none of it was true. Not anymore. Olivia wiped her tears with the back of her hand, her breathing slowly steadying. The fear that had followed her from the moment she stepped off that porch. It was fading. In its place, something stronger was growing. Clarity. For the first time, she wasn't reacting to what had been done to her. She was choosing what came next. Her gaze shifted toward the lake, visible through the broken windows. The water still looked dark. Still. Almost lifeless. But now she knew better. Just like this place, there was more beneath the surface. Her father had seen it. And now, so did she. Olivia took a slow breath, then another, grounding herself in the moment. She wasn't that girl on the porch anymore, the one who stood there helpless, waiting for someone to tell her what to do. That version of her was gone, left behind the moment she opened that letter. I get it now, she said softly, a quiet strength settling into her voice. This wasn't just about money. It wasn't even about survival. It was about something bigger. Identity. Truth. Legacy. Her father hadn't just left her resources. He had left her a choice. A chance to decide who she was going to be without anyone else defining it for her. And that realization changed everything. Olivia looked down at her hands, still shaking slightly, still marked with dirt and splinters from the floor. Just hours ago, those hands had felt powerless. Now they felt capable. Like they could build something, fix something, create something. Just like he did. A small, unexpected smile touched her lips through the tears. You really believed in me, didn't you? The answer was already there. In every hidden detail. In every word of that letter. In every sacrifice he made without her ever knowing. And for the first time, Olivia believed in herself too. The fear of what might come the people her father warned about. The uncertainty of the future, it was still there. But it no longer controlled her. Because now, she understood something Margaret could never take away. She wasn't weak. She wasn't alone. And she was never meant to be small. Olivia folded the letter carefully, holding it close to her chest for a moment before placing it safely back into the envelope. This wasn't just paper. It was truth. It was connection. It was a reminder of who she really was. She looked around the boathouse one more time, her eyes sharper now, more aware. Now this place wasn't broken. It was waiting. Waiting for her to see it, to understand it, to claim it. And she would, no matter how long it took, no matter what stood in her way, because this wasn't the end of her story. It was the moment everything finally made sense. The next morning, Olivia woke up to silence. Not the heavy, suffocating silence she had felt the night before, but something different, something calmer. The kind of silence that felt like a blank page. For a moment, she didn't move. She lay there on the cold wooden floor of the boathouse, staring up at the cracked ceiling as pale sunlight filtered through the broken panels above. Dust floated lazily in the air, glowing faintly in the light. And for the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't feel afraid. She felt ready. Slowly, Olivia sat up, her muscles stiff, her body sore from the long night. The letter rested beside her, along with the metal box still open, still filled with the truth that had changed everything. She looked around again. The same broken walls, the same warped wood, the same sinking dock. But now she saw something else layered over it. Possibility. "This place isn't done," she whispered. Her voice was quiet but steady. "It's just unfinished." The thought sent a strange spark through her chest. Unfinished meant something important. It meant there was still something she could do, still something she could build. Olivia stood up, brushing dust from her clothes as she took a slow step forward. Then another. She wasn't exploring anymore. She was assessing. The floor weak in some areas, but not completely gone. The walls damaged, but still holding. The structure leaning, but not beyond saving. Her father hadn't chosen this place randomly. He had seen what it could become. And now, so did she. Her gaze moved toward the lake outside. The water was still dark, still quiet, but in the morning light. It didn't feel threatening anymore. It felt peaceful, like it was waiting too. Olivia took a deep breath. "Okay." Her voice carried a new kind of energy now. "Let's fix this." The first few hours were the hardest. Not because the work was complicated, but because it was overwhelming. There was so much damage, so much decay, so many signs of abandonment. For a moment, doubt crept back in. Can I really do this? But then she remembered the letter. "You're stronger than anyone ever gave you credit for." Her jaw tightened. Then prove it. She started small, clearing debris, broken wood, rusted nails, pieces of the past that no longer belonged. Each movement was slow at first, uncertain, but it became easier with time, more natural. The rhythm of it began to take over. Pick up, move, clear, repeat. Hours passed without her noticing. Sweat dampened her hair. Dust clung to her skin. Her hands grew rough, scratched, and sore. But she didn't stop, because something inside her had shifted. This wasn't just work. It was transformation. Every piece of debris she removed felt like she was stripping away the lies she had been told. Every clean surface she uncovered felt like reclaiming a piece of truth. By midday, a small section of the boathouse floor was visible again. Solid, strong, not perfect but real. Olivia stepped back, breathing heavily as she looked at what she had done. It wasn't much, but it was something, and for the first time, she felt proud. Over the next few days, Olivia kept going. She used the money from the box, carefully buying only what she needed. Basic tools, cleaning supplies, simple materials, nothing unnecessary. Because now she understood the value of what she had. Every dollar meant time. Every decision meant progress. She worked from sunrise to sunset, her body adjusting to the labor, her movements becoming more confident, more precise. She patched holes in the walls, reinforced weak boards, cleared out entire sections of rot, and slowly, the boathouse began to change. It wasn't just a wreck anymore. It was becoming a space. A place she could stand in without feeling like it would collapse beneath her. A place that felt hers. At night, she would sit by the edge of the dock, what remained of it, watching the water ripple under the moonlight. The loneliness was still there, but it didn't feel as sharp, because now she had purpose, and purpose filled the empty spaces in a way nothing else could. One afternoon, as Olivia worked near the back wall, she found something unexpected. A set of old tools, hidden behind a loose panel. They were worn but well cared for. Organized. Intentional. Her breath caught as she picked one up, a heavy wrench, its handle smooth from years of use. Her father's tools. A lump formed in her throat. He was here, she whispered. Not just in the past, but in every detail she was uncovering. Every fix she made. Every improvement she saw. It was like he had left her a path to follow. A guide without words. A presence without being there. And suddenly, she didn't feel alone at all. By the end of the first week, the transformation was undeniable. The boathouse still leaned slightly. The paint was still chipped. The dock was still partially submerged. But inside, it was alive. Clean floors. Repaired walls. A small corner set up as a place to sleep. A space to think. A space to plan. Olivia stood in the center of it all, her hands resting on her hips as she took it in. This was hers. Not something given. Not something inherited without effort. Something she had fought for. Built. Earned. A slow smile spread across her face. This is just the beginning, and for the first time in her life, she truly believed it. Because this place, this forgotten, broken, sunken boathouse, had become more than shelter, more than survival. It had become opportunity, a chance to start over, a chance to build something real, a chance to become someone new. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the lake, Olivia stood there stronger, steadier, and more certain than ever before. She hadn't just found a hidden inheritance. She had found herself. 2 weeks after Olivia arrived at the boathouse, something unexpected happened. The silence broke. It started with the sound of tires crunching slowly along the gravel road, a sound that didn't belong in a place like this. Olivia froze mid-motion, a hammer still in her hand, as she stood on the repaired section of the dock. Her heart began to race. No one came out here. No one even knew she was here. Except, her father's warning echoed in her mind. They will come. Olivia slowly set the hammer down, wiping her hands against her jeans as she stepped forward, her eyes narrowing toward the edge of the property. A sleek black SUV rolled into view. It didn't belong here. It looked too clean, too polished, too deliberate. The engine shut off, and a man stepped out. Tall, well-dressed, controlled. The kind of man who didn't ask for things, he expected them. He adjusted his suit jacket and walked toward her with a calm, measured confidence, his shoes sinking slightly into the damp ground but never breaking his stride. Olivia Carter, he called out. Her name hit harder than she expected. She straightened slightly, her voice steady but cautious. It depends who's asking. A faint smile curved his lips, though it didn't reach his eyes. Daniel Reeves, I represent Blackridge Development Group. There it was. Exactly like her father said. Olivia felt a quiet tension coil in her chest, but she didn't step back. Instead, she stepped forward. What do you want? Daniel's gaze drifted around the property, taking in the partially restored structure, the repaired boards, the signs of life returning to something long forgotten. Impressive, he said lightly, You've done quite a bit in a short amount of time." Olivia didn't respond. She didn't like how observant he was, or how interested he seemed. He turned back to her, slipping one hand casually into his pocket. "I'll get straight to the point. This property along with the surrounding land is part of a much larger development initiative. Resorts, private docks, luxury housing, a project that will transform this entire region." Olivia crossed her arms. And, he continued smoothly, "you're currently standing on the last piece we need." Her stomach tightened. Of course she was. Daniel pulled a folded document from his jacket and extended it toward her. "We're prepared to make you a very generous offer." She didn't take it. How generous? He smiled again, this time with a hint of satisfaction. 7 figures. The number hung in the air like a shockwave. Olivia blinked. 7 figures. More money than she had ever imagined. More than she would need for years. It was everything most people would say yes to, without thinking twice. Daniel watched her closely, clearly expecting the same reaction. "This is a rare opportunity," he added. "You're young. This kind of financial freedom could change your life overnight." Olivia said nothing, but inside, everything was moving. She thought about the cold nights, the exhaustion, the uncertainty, the fear of not knowing what came next. 7 figures could erase all of that. Instantly, no more struggling, no more rebuilding, no more risk. Just comfort, security, freedom. Her grip tightened slightly. It was tempting. More tempting than she wanted to admit. Daniel took a small step closer, lowering his voice just enough to feel personal. "Your father held on to this land for sentimental reasons. I understand that. But sentiment doesn't build a future." That did it. Something inside Olivia snapped into place. Her eyes hardened. "You don't know anything about my father." Daniel paused. Just for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Olivia saw it. The crack in his composure. Good. She took a step forward now, closing the distance between them. "This place isn't just land," she said quietly, but firmly, "and it's not for sale." The air shifted instantly. Daniel's smile faded. "I think you should take a moment to reconsider." "I already did." Her voice cut through his words like steel. Silence fell between them. Heavy. Tense. For the first time, Daniel studied her differently. Not as a naive girl, but as a problem. "You're making an emotional decision," he said, his tone cooling. "And emotional decisions tend to be expensive." Olivia didn't flinch. "Maybe, but this one's mine to make." A long pause followed. Then Daniel exhaled slowly, slipping the document back into his jacket. "This won't be our last conversation." It wasn't a threat, but it wasn't a promise either. It was something in between, something colder, more dangerous. Olivia held his gaze. "I figured." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Daniel gave a small nod, turned, and walked back toward his SUV. The engine started. Gravel crunched. And just like that, he was gone. The silence returned, but it felt different now. Sharper. Charged. Olivia stood there for a long moment, staring at the empty road where the SUV had disappeared. Her heart was still racing, but not from fear, from certainty. She knew what that offer meant. She knew what she had just turned down. A life of ease, of comfort, of never having to struggle again. And yet, she didn't regret it, not even a little, because for the first time, she understood something deeper than money. This place wasn't just her inheritance. It was her father's truth. His fight, his sacrifice, everything he protected was right here. Selling it would have been easy. But keeping it, fighting for it, that meant something. That was something. Olivia looked around the boathouse, the repaired boards, the tools, the marks of her own hands shaping something real. This wasn't just a place anymore. It was a choice, and she had chosen. A slow breath left her lips as she turned back toward the structure. There was still work to do. More repairs, more plans, more unknowns ahead, and now, something else. A challenge. Because Daniel was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Not even close. But Olivia wasn't the same girl who had stepped onto that porch weeks ago. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't afraid of what came next. If anything, she was ready for it. As the wind swept gently across the lake, carrying ripples across the dark surface, Olivia picked up her hammer again, her grip steady, her expression focused. Whatever they brought next, she would face it. Because this wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about protecting something worth fighting for. And she wasn't backing down. That night, the wind over the lake was stronger than usual. It howled softly through the cracks of the boathouse, brushing against the repaired walls as if testing their strength. The water below shifted in restless waves, tapping rhythmically against the weakened dock. But inside, Olivia stood still, not afraid, not uncertain, but grounded. She held her father's letter in her hands again, the edges worn slightly from how many times she had read it over the past few days. Each word had carved something deeper into her, something stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. It had given her direction. She stepped forward slowly, moving toward the center of the boathouse. The space looked different now, not perfect, far from it, but alive. The floors were cleaner, the walls were steadier. The air didn't feel abandoned anymore. It felt like a beginning. Olivia took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs. "This is it," she whispered. "Not the end of something, but the start." She walked toward the edge of the dock, stepping carefully over the boards she had repaired with her own hands. The lake stretched out before her, dark and endless, reflecting only fragments of the moon through broken clouds. Just weeks ago, that same view had filled her with dread. Now, it felt like possibility, uncertain, unpredictable, but full of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Olivia tightened her grip on the letter. "You knew, didn't you?" she murmured softly. Her voice was carried away by the wind, but it didn't matter, because she already knew the answer. Her father had seen this moment long before she did. He had known she would stand here lost, broken, questioning everything, and he had left her exactly what she needed. Not just money, not just a place to hide, but a chance to choose. The offer from Blackridge Development Group lingered in her mind. 7 figures. A life without struggle. A clean escape from everything uncertain. Most people would have taken it. Maybe even she would have. If she had come here a week earlier, if she had never found the letter, if she had never learned the truth. But now it felt different, because she understood something they didn't. Something they could never buy. This place wasn't valuable because of the land. It was valuable because of what it meant, because of what it held, because of what it had already given her. Strength, clarity, a reason to keep going. Olivia closed her eyes for a moment, letting that realization settle fully inside her. "They think this is about money," she said quietly. A small, determined smile touched her lips. "They're wrong." Behind her, The boathouse creaked softly, as if responding. Not collapsing, not breaking, but holding, just like her. Olivia turned back, stepping inside once more. The space felt warmer now, even without heat. She moved to the workbench, running her fingers across its surface, the same place she had first noticed something was different. The same place where everything had begun to change. Her reflection caught faintly in a piece of old metal nearby. She paused. For a moment, she barely recognized the girl staring back at her. The fear was gone. The uncertainty had faded. What remained was something new. As someone new, stronger, steadier. Someone who didn't need to be saved anymore. Because she had already saved herself. "I'm not leaving," Olivia said aloud. The words echoed softly but firmly. Not a question. Not a doubt. A decision. No matter what came next, no matter how hard it got, no matter how many times they came back with bigger offers, stronger pressure, or darker tactics, she would stay. Because this wasn't just where she ended up. It was where she belonged. She picked up her tools again, the familiar weight grounding her. Outside. The wind continued to move across the lake, but it no longer felt like a threat. It felt like a reminder that things change, things break, but they can also be rebuilt. Stronger, better, more meaningful than before. Olivia looked around one last time before getting back to work. The broken boards, the repaired walls, the space she had slowly brought back to life. This wasn't just a boathouse anymore. It was proof. Proof that even when everything falls apart, you can still build something new. Something real. Something that matters. And as the first light of morning began to creep over the horizon, casting soft gold across the surface of the lake, Olivia stood there no longer the girl who had been thrown out with nothing, but the one who had turned nothing into everything. What Olivia found wasn't just money hidden in a broken boathouse. It was the truth about who she really was. For years, Margaret made her believe she had nothing. No future, no support, no value. But the moment Olivia stopped listening and started searching for herself, everything changed. Because sometimes life doesn't give you opportunity in a perfect form. It gives you something broken, and waits to see if you'll walk away or rebuild it. Olivia rebuilt, and in doing that, she didn't just restore a place. She rebuilt her identity, her strength, and her future. If you feel stuck, lost, or like life handed you nothing, look again. Start small, fix one thing, take one step. Because the place you think is your ending might actually be your turning point. If this story hit you in a real way, stay with this channel. These stories are for people rebuilding their lives from nothing.